2, 3. It's together. Utter Om. Let's do this 2 more times. This time, as we breathe in and breathe out, we can gently scan our body starting from the feet upwards. Anywhere you notice any tension, you squeeze and release as you relax and breathe in and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Together. One last time. This time you can gently scan your face. Much of the tension in our body resides in our face, on our forehead, on our jaw, on our chins, especially in our eyes. We squeeze and release as we breathe in and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let us do a gentle visualization. You can keep your eyes closed. Let your breathing go on gently. Visualize that you are on a road trip that takes you to a long straight road surrounded on both sides by lush greenery. You come on the banks of a majestic river, the Ganga. On the other side are the towering Himalayan mountains. In front of you, you feel the gentle, moist breeze coming from the Ganga onto you. It's evening and the evening sky is reflected in the waters of the Ganga. There are birds chirping as they prepare to rest for the night. The sun has almost set. There is a gentle red color in the horizon where the sun has gone down. After a whole long day, nature is coming to rest. And as you take in the scenery, you take in the sound, the smell, the sight, you feel at peace with yourself. The world is far bigger than us. The mountain, the Himalayas towering far above, the Ganga nourishing millions of life forms. All these have been going on for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And we are all in the lap of nature, sustained in our daily existence by a force far bigger than ourselves. There are realities far bigger than our daily anxieties and agitations and attractions. You breathe in and breathe out as you feel at peace with yourself. Take a couple of gentle breaths and then you can open your eyes. Thank you. You can open your eyes now. Are you feeling more peaceful? So, I'm grateful to be here with all of you today. Is this visible? Okay. So I'll be writing and drawing some things. Our topic today is how to have success without burnout. So I'll talk about this in 3 broad parts. I'll use an acronym called CHIT. CHIT means consciousness. So we will try to expand our consciousness and understand more about this idea. So C is, I'll try to understand, explain the concept. Then I'll talk about some insights. And then finally T will be a takeaway. So I'd like to start by asking you, what does the word burnout mean to you? How many of you have heard the word burnout before you came to IIT? Okay. Some of you have not heard. Okay, how many of you have heard the word burnout when you were in school or when you heard in junior college? In school? Okay, some of you had heard it. Okay. In junior college? Okay, some of you are too burned out to raise your hand also. Okay. So now, relatively speaking, one of my interests is language. And nowadays with AI available, you can get to the history of words. So, like the word inferiority complex started becoming very common about a century ago, a little more than a century ago. So burnout is one of the words which has become especially common in the last decade. So when we use the word burnout, what does it mean to you? Would anyone like to say?
It's feel dizziness and unwilling to do something.
Yeah, so you feel dizzy, you feel unwilling to do anything, feel overwhelmed. Isn't it? Yes. Anything else? Okay, let's start with, if you were to sense that a friend of yours is having burnout, what would you look for? How would their appearance be different? Or how would their words be different? Or how would their actions be different? Anything?
Dull, energy loss, irritating.
Okay, that's quite good. Personally, this dull, they'll be lethargic. And another distinct point is they'll be irritable. Yes. When one of the things happens when we are burned out, we don't just burn out, we burn others out also. So, when I am irritated, then I irritate others also. That's one aspect of burnout is people become very irritable. Small things get to them. Anything else? Okay. So, these are important characteristics. One of the points of being burnout is that you just feel it is too much for too little. That is the key thing in life. And this is the theme which I will, too much for too little. I'm studying so much, I'm working so hard, I'm trying so many things. And what is the point of it all? What am I getting out of it? What is the need to do all this? What will I get out of it? So, see, life is tough. And that is true for everyone. But when we feel that through that toughness, through the difficulty, I am getting somewhere, I am going somewhere, I am achieving something, then we are okay, ready to do it. But when we feel it is too much for too little, I worked so hard and I didn't get good marks in my exam, or I was a very good student but I didn't get a good job, or this happened, or that happened. So when it feels like that, it's too much for too little. So now, whatever we do, there is this too much is that the effort is too much and the reward is too little. In general, any place, if the effort feels much, much greater than the reward, then we start thinking, why am I here? So, I'm here for this talk. The talk is in the college itself. You were there in the college, you stayed on. It's some effort for you. You have to invest an hour or two. But if this talk was, say, at some venue which is 1 hour away from your place, is it really worth it? So, in general, when burnout comes, now the idea is that we start feeling that whatever I am doing in life, what is the point of it? So, now there are two aspects. So this concept of burnout, success without burnout. So there is burn. Now when fire burns, it can give a flame. When there is a flame, that flame gives light to everyone around. But when something is burning, the flame can be illuminating. But the flame can also become a fire. When it becomes a fire, it becomes a wildfire. At that time, for some time it burns very bright, but at that time it burns, it doesn't just illuminate, it incinerates. Incinerate means it just burns and destroys. It reduces to ashes. And then after that, it just dies out, it extinguishes. So, now we want the flame within us to be in which state? To illuminate, not to burn and not certainly die out. So in terms of I'll be talking about this from that perspective of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita explains that there are 3 modes of material nature. That the world functions and our mind also functions, we could say, in 3 gears. If you are driving a car in a particular gear, it will move in a particular way. So if we drive it in a gear which is meant to help the car move up a steep hill, and if we are using that on a smooth expressway, that will be a mismatch. So now, for us in our life, there is the guna called sattva. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam sarvadvareshu dehesmi prakasha upajayate. So when we are in sattva, our mind, our consciousness, our overall disposition, it is illuminating. Now when there is rajas, that's the other mode. In rajas, there is a huge amount of energy. But that energy is there for a short while. Like a fire which is burning too fast, it burns and then it dies out. When it dies out, it goes to tamas. Now, in terms of, so our topic was success without burnout. Now, success means we have certain things to achieve in our life. Now, in rajas and tamas, now there are different ways to understand these 3 modes. One simple way to understand is that some people make things happen, some people watch things happen, and some people wonder what happened. So the idea is, if in sattva we have clarity, okay, let me do this, you can do this, we'll together work together. There's some amount of clarity is there. But when there's rajas, there is hyperactivity. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to do everything. And when we try to do everything, we can do it for some time and then we go to, I can do nothing. So, this is basically life will always have ups and downs. Nobody can avoid this. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gam. Now, when we are alternating between rajas and tamas, when things are good, we have huge amount of energy. When things go down, our energy completely goes down. So, this is where when a person has high energy, the person is rajas. This is, in psychological terms, such people are often called as manic depressive. Manic means they have huge amount of energy. On some days, it feels as if they can, is this color visible? Yes. Good. So, some days it feels as if they have so much energy, they can shake the whole world. And on other days, the whole world can't shake them from under their bed sheet. I don't want to get out of my bed. I don't want to do anything at all. So this is tamas. This is where? This is manic depressive. Like in cricket, there are some teams which are super unpredictable. On some days, they can defeat the best of teams. On other days, even the teams are minnows, they will crush them. And you don't know which team is going to arrive when. So sometimes people become very unpredictable. When good things happen, they're on top of the world. When bad things happen, they feel the whole world is on top of me, crushing me. And if there are lots of mood swings, that is one indication that we are not in a very stable state. And that is, now when things go down, we think I'll come up again. Something good happens, I start feeling good. But the manic depressive state, it eventually gives rise, after some time, to what is a chronic depressive state. Chronic depressive means that the person, when something good happens, they go up a little bit. When something bad happens, they go down. And next time when something good happens, they start thinking, oh, now something good has happened, now after something bad will happen. And because of that, they just keep going down, down, down. So this is not manic depressive, this is chronic depressive. So chronic depressive is entirely tamas. So in such situations, one feels, I just don't want to do anything at all. Why study, why work, why do anything at all? Now, at an extreme level of the chronic depressive level, a person may even start feeling, what is the point of living at all? And now, self-destruction, especially through suicide, is extremely tragic. And there can be many specific causes for it. But overall, the point I said about burnout, that too much effort for too little reward. And that goes to the point where one feels that I will have to put in a huge amount of effort, and I just have to put in the effort for I don't know how long. And when some reward will come, there is no knowledge at all. That's the time one completely breaks down. So this is the concept of burnout and how it affects us in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. So now I'll move to the second part of insight. So now I'll talk about this in three broad parts within insight. That what leads one person to become burnt out and another person will not become burnt out. That two people may have the same amount of workload, they may have the same kind of assignments, the same study level that they have to do, but one person gets crushed by it, the other does not. Now we can just use judgmental word, oh, this person's weak. And that is okay. As a functional assessment, that's okay, but as a practical assessment, it's not very helpful. So, some people, what is the difference? Why is there a difference between people? And why is it that some people, when everybody will be knocked down by life. So when life knocks some people down, some people spring up. They become like a rubber ball. And some people just break apart. They are like a glass paperweight. So burnout it's largely a result of internals. External factors are also there, I'll talk about it. But when something happens in our life, how do we process it? That is important to understand. See, life's having ups and downs, everybody will experience that. Say loss, for example, is something which everyone experiences. We may not pass a competitive exam. We may have a job and we may lose a job. Now, I have been a monk for almost 30 years. The last 10-12 years, I've been extensively traveling across the world. And I've spoken in many universities in America and into Google. So in 2014, for the first time when I went abroad, and one vocabulary usage struck me at that time. Till now, I have not met a single American who says I am jobless. They use the word I am between jobs. I am between jobs. Now, it's not just a matter of vocabulary. Between jobs means like I am between cities. Okay, I was in this city, I am in that city. If you are driving the car, say from Indore to Bhopal, I am between cities. Now in India, if somebody loses a job, it's like somebody has died in the home. What happened? Now there are various reasons for that. India is much more competitive, the population is much more. So that is the point. But the point is that a job loss is a job loss. How it is processed, that is up to us. So when we have loss, we may process it 3 ways. I have lost. Okay, I had this opportunity, I lost it. I had this particular thing which didn't work out. I have lost. The second is, I am lost. Now when I say I am lost, that is not just a loss of opportunity, that's a loss of direction, loss of purpose. Now all of you come to IITs, one of the top universities, not just in India, probably along the whole world. Many students may have tried to come to IIT and it did not work out for them. If somebody attacks their life's dream, as in Kota a few years ago, and I met one student over there after something like this. For 8 years he had been trying to get a job. Now, I did courses for 4 years, spending 8 years to get into a degree is not really worth it. If somebody invests too much emotion in trying to do a particular thing, and they can't do it, then what happens? I am lost. The loss of direction. Right. I have a friend in California who is a psychiatrist, who works in psychology, is a therapist. But his specialization in therapy is for retired sports players. Because among the various careers in the world, in most careers people peak by the age of 45, 50, 55. But sports and movies, more sports than movies also, is a career where you peak by 35, 40. By 40, a player is like a dinosaur, like a fossil. So many players, they don't know what to do after a sports career. Unless they are able to reinvent themselves and find some other direction for their life. Even if they have been successful, in fact, the more successful they have been in sports career, post-retirement they are more likely to get into depression. Because now they don't have that fame. And the worst situation is, if they have a lot of money, then they get into drugs, they get into addiction, and they really end up sabotaging and destroying themselves. So I am lost. I have lost is more a loss of opportunity. I am lost is a loss of direction. But the most damaging is, I am a loser. If loss leads us to think this, then we are ruined. Here, if I think I am a loser, then it's not just a loss of opportunity or direction, it's a loss of self-worth. And then what is the point of living? If we were in a relationship with somebody who we thought was a loser, maybe a business partnership, maybe a romantic relationship, if we think the other person is a loser, then we'll start thinking, if I stay with this person, I will also end up being a loser. Better let me break up with this person. Now, we can break up with somebody else who we think is a loser. But if we think I am a loser, how can I break up with myself? We can't. Or can we? That breaking up with oneself is basically the point of suicide. And people say, I don't want to live. It's, I don't want to live my life. I don't want to live the way my life is going. So, going back to same Gita framework, I have lost is Sattva. We face, okay, as an opportunity, I lost it. Rajas is where there is too much attachment, the mode of passion, where I start thinking, if I lost this opportunity, I am lost now. Everything is ruined for me. Now, among Indian and Chinese students, there are a lot of suicides because of poor academic performance. Among European and American students, there are hardly any suicides because of poor performance. Now, that doesn't mean there are no youth suicides. The youth suicides there are often because of breakups. The word is break up, but often what happens is a breakdown. There's no up in that. And because what happens over there, the sense of I am a loser comes not so much from the lack of academic achievement. It comes from the fact that I was dumped. The word dumped is also such a terrible word. Like some garbage dump you have. I am unloved. Maybe I will be unlovable. So either way, what happens in tamas? We start over-identifying with the present situation. And I am a loser. So what is the problem over here? What is the present? We are making the present the permanent. That, okay, I am going through a difficult phase right now, but I start thinking, this is the phase my life will always be in. And we start thinking that, it's very difficult to move forward. So, with respect to the mode getting overwhelmed, with we feeling overwhelmed by life, yes, we will have difficult phases. But during those difficult phases, how do we see those phases? That's the important thing. So this is where I'll introduce one more point in the insight, and then I'll move towards the takeaway. That in life there are events. Many events happen, but what we have are experiences. There are events and there are experiences. So loss is an event. I have lost, I am lost, I am a loser. These are experiences. I hope the difference is clear. Event happens and we experience the event in a particular way. So events are more external, they are more objective. Experiences are more internal. So the Bhagavad Gita explains that inside that there's a model of the self we can have. That there is our physical side, that is the body. Then beyond that is the mind. And beyond that is the soul. So our existence is three levels: body, mind and soul. Can you see this light over here? Coming from here? Do you see the light now? Is the light there? Yes. The light is there, but you can't see it now. Okay? So this light, the source of the light is the soul. That is the Atma. And from the Atma comes the Chetana. Chetana is consciousness. So from Atma comes Chetana. And when the Chetana comes out, so we could say from here, from the soul, consciousness comes out and then it goes outward. But like I showed you that if my hand is in between, then the light will not come out. So I started with the idea of burning. Fire can illuminate or it may not illuminate. So what happens that just as our body can sometimes get injured, somebody may be physically very healthy, but if their hand has got a fracture, then they cannot lift weights, at least not with that particular hand. They are healthy, but they are not fit, especially with respect to lifting weights. So like just as our body can impede us at times when it gets injured, similarly our mind can also get injured. And when the mind gets injured, then what happens? The chetana, the consciousness that is coming out from the soul through the mind to the body, it does not come out properly. One way to understand this metaphor is that this is like a computer system, and in the computer system, the body is like the hardware, the mind is like the software, the soul is like the user. So if the hardware, if you have our phone and our phone's hardware is damaged, we can't function very well. If the phone software is corrupted, we can't function very well. So our mind can also get damaged. And when the mind gets damaged, the consciousness does not come out clearly. The consciousness does not come out clearly, and at that time, the consciousness that does not come out clearly means what happens? Things get distorted. Sometimes that which is very big becomes small. Sometimes that which is small becomes big. So let me explain this. This might seem a little complicated concept, but let's try to see this. That in general, all of us, we function based on the idea of there is stimulus and then there is response. Once I was giving a talk in America in a similar auditorium, and this dais was much bigger. So the organizer wanted to give some message to me urgently. So the organizer came and tapped me on the shoulder. And they tapped me, almost, I winced and almost screamed. What happened? Actually, I had fallen on the shoulder and I have a sprain over it. Oh, I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. I didn't know about it. So what happens if there is an injury? Then the one characteristic of the injury is that this is the normal healthy condition. Small stimulus, huge reaction. This gentle touch and a huge reaction. So now this is one problem with if there is some kind of injury. I was in Houston going for a program, and my wheelchair, I normally use wheelchair while traveling. The wheelchair assistant was not there. So I had to urgently go and tell the person ahead of me. And I tapped on the person's. Normally people, at least people who travel by air, they are quite courteous. They are polite, well behaved. So I wanted to go ahead, and I had my use my crutches. So I tapped on the shoulder of the other person ahead of me. The person wouldn't move at all. I tapped again, the person wouldn't move at all. And now he was with both of them, he was with a woman. So I didn't want to talk with her or touch her. So but I was just touching him, he's not paying attention. And then finally, I had turned to her, excuse me. This person was not listening to me also. Then I turned to her and I went, excuse me, can you ask him to move? Oh, and then that person turned his head around. When he turned his head around, I saw that from his face only I could make out, he had Down syndrome. And he was an autistic spectrum. And I realized that because of that, he was almost desensitized. Then the person with him was his sister. She said, oh, I'm sorry. And then he moved aside. So another way it can happen is that there can be a huge stimulus and tiny response. So both of these are unhealthy conditions. And this is, and the response is proportional to the stimulus. This is the healthy condition. So what applies to the body also applies to the mind. The mind, when it gets diseased, when it gets injured, when the body gets injured, either we can be oversensitive or we can become desensitized. Similarly, when the mind is in rajas, at that time, every small thing becomes very big. Small stimulus, huge response. That if we tell someone, do this, and that person doesn't do it, immediately explode. Small stimulus, no response, huge response. And in tamas, even a huge stimulus, no response. So small thing goes wrong, everything has gone wrong, everything has fallen apart. And even if a big thing, that's rajoguna. That's when we are in a hyper-energetic state, the hyper-controlling kind of thing. But sometimes everything goes wrong. Anyway, what is the big thing? Things only go wrong all the time. We end up See, there are sometimes unavoidable problems in life, and we need to accept them. And there are avoidable problems, we need to avoid them. But both ways, we start malfunctioning. That overreaction means somebody has not listened to us. Maybe somebody is supposed to come and get something for us, and 5 minutes they come late. Now it's an inconvenience. But 5 minutes they come late, and maybe we have to do some lab experiment and that person doesn't come. Okay, it's annoying. But we don't have to yell and scream at that person, and we don't have to hit that person, and we don't have to create a big uproar because of that. But suppose we have to go for an important exam, and somebody is supposed to pick us up, and that person doesn't come to pick us up. Okay, that person didn't come, I'll not go for the exam. What do you mean not go for the exam? It's your exam, you have to go for it, isn't it? So, what happens sometimes, these are extreme examples, but this is where, when our mind is not functioning properly, when our mind is injured, small things we make very big, and big things we make very small. So, a small temptation for some pleasure comes up, okay, let's, you're doing some important studies and some phone comes up notifying, your friend has updated their Facebook profile photo. Okay, what is the photo? Or Instagram photo. You look at one photo and you look at another photo and look at another photo. And what was supposed to take 1 minute ends up taking 3 hours. So what happens? A sense of proportionality gets lost. So when we are feeling burnt out, at that time what is happening? Our energy is getting lost. In small things, we overreact. And then when big things come, we have no energy to react. We have no energy to do anything. So what do we need to do for this? So burnout, see everybody, we can't radically change our life. As to, almost in most places in our life, we don't have much control over our externals. Now, if we have certain amount of studies to do, we have the studies to do. We can't really change that. Some extent we can change sometimes. If somebody is working in a job and they become overwhelmed by the job, they may take a break for a few days. That's possible. But in general, we can't really change the externals too much for too long. So what we need to do is, it's more a matter of energy management. So when there is burnout, it is because of energy mismanagement. We all have a finite amount of energy. I'm talking here not so much about physical energy as emotional energy. Burnout is not just tiredness. Tiredness is physical. Exhaustion is much more emotional at times. I just don't feel like doing anything. So how do we better manage our energy? So as I talked about it, when my mind is wounded, then what happens? Small things lead to big reactions, and big things become very small. And that's how we end up creating trouble for ourselves. So let's move to the last part now, the takeaway for us. What can we do to better manage our energy? This will be 2 parts I'll talk. First is that we ourselves there is energy awareness required. Before there can be energy management, there's to energy awareness. That means, what are the things that give strength to me, and what are the things that require strength for me? What are things that give me energy? What are the things that take energy or require energy? Broadly speaking, it is said that there are 2 kinds of people in the world. Some people bring happiness wherever they go, and some people bring happiness whenever they go. Now, the second category of people are not necessarily bad people. We ourselves may be, some people may put us in the first category, some people may put us in the second category. So, now both kinds of people will be there in our lives, and second category of people may also be necessary, because they train us, they correct us, they help us improve. But, if we are constantly spending time with people who take our energy, then we will get exhausted. And that applies to activities also. It applies to people, it also applies to activities. So what are the activities that give me energy, and what are activities that take my energy? And once there is this energy awareness, Now, how do I know which are the activities that give me energy or which are the activities that take my energy? It's not entirely black and white. But in general, in a day, when we are about to start a day or when we about to start a week, what are the things that we look forward to? Somebody will say, I just look forward to watching TV all day. Well, not really. We watch TV for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, but afterwards you get bored with it. So something meaningful, something valuable. Say about in your studies, there will be some subjects which you naturally like. You do this, you look forward to those classes. You look forward to reading those books. And some subjects you may not like. And studying them is a bit of a drain, it's exhaustion. In every situation that we are in, there are some things which give us energy, some things which require energy. Now, it is our responsibility to arrange our life. We cannot remove the things which require energy, but we can balance. So if I put this as those which give energy, if I am going through my day, there are things which give energy and there are things which take energy. So give energy, take energy. So if I can balance my life in such a way that what gives energy and what takes energy, it is interspersed, then we will be able to restore our energy. But if on the other hand, if my life is filled with activities that take energy, then by the end of it, here I might be standing aloft. Now here I'll be like, the whole world's weight is on me. Here, and then by the time, I'll become a weight that somebody else has to carry. So now, what are the activities that give us energy? What are the activities that require energy? This is the last part I'll talk about. So first is energy awareness. This is very important in our daily life to be observed. What is it I look forward to? What is it, if only I feel, as I think about it, I mentally grow. Oh, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to meet this person? Why do I have to do this activity? So that doesn't mean we have to avoid them completely. We need to be aware of that. And then we need to adjust our skills accordingly. So for us, when we talk about this energy, there is emotional energy, and in the inner world there is emotional energy, and there is spiritual energy. Emotional energy comes by doing the things which we like. So, okay, now, if you are feeling very stressed, you go out for a walk in the park, you go close to nature, you feel peaceful, you feel good. So that we feel emotionally rejuvenated. Maybe we spend time with people whom we like, maybe our family, our friends, we feel emotionally rejuvenated. Nowadays there's entertainment. Now entertainment at one level was meant to help us get emotionally rejuvenated. But sometimes the entertainment itself is filled with so much violence, so much sensuality, so much negativity that it doesn't rejuvenate us. When there is scrolling and there's doom scrolling. Doom scrolling is where, oh, this thing happened over there bad, that thing happened bad over there, that thing happened bad over there. I mean, what is the point of doing anything? So our spiritual rejuvenation, it comes not simply by doing what we like to do, but what connects us, what links us with a higher reality. This is where spiritual practices, like we chanted the mantra Om. So in our tradition we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. So through prayer, through meditation, through mantra chanting, we can connect ourselves with the higher reality. And the more we connect ourselves with the higher reality, the more we'll find that we will become internally stronger. The more we'll become rejuvenated at a spiritual level. So each one of us, this is an untapped energy resource that is there for all of us. And as neuroscience is advancing, there are more and more studies where previously meditation was more subjective. Oh, I feel good after meditation. But now the results of meditation have been more objectively mapped also. That when somebody meditates regularly, their brain states are, through neural imaging, if we see the picture of their brain, they are better formed. Those areas of the brain which are associated with cognitive health, with emotional stability, with resilience, the positive hormones, the positive enzymes are much more. So this is something which is at a spiritual level acting, but we start experiencing it, not just subjectively, but even objectively, it's happening. So processions like these are meant to open doors for us for our internal rejuvenation. And in that way, once we arrange our schedule so that we give ourselves time for our emotional and spiritual rejuvenation, we will be able to pursue success, pursue what it takes to succeed in life without getting burned out. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. The topic was success without burnout, and I talked about it in 3 parts. Do you remember the acronym? CIT. Which C was what? Concept. So I discussed within the concept that how when we start feeling too much for too little, that is the time when we're putting in a lot of effort, we feel that we get too little return. That's when we either feel exhausted, we feel irritated, we feel frustrated. That is a sign of burnout. And within that, we discussed how there are these 3 gunas. There is a fire inside us. The fire can either illuminate, that is sattva, or it can incinerate, it can burn things around it, and then it can itself die. It can get extinguished. So this is what we would like to have. These 2 we want to avoid. And this is where we talked about the 3 modes. How life will always have its ups and downs. The modes are like gears. Either we go way up and go down, or we just keep going down and down. So this happens with when there is rajas and tamas, or there is only tamas. So what we would like to is learn to balance these 3. So now, why is it that we get overexcited or we get completely exhausted? For that, I talked about the model concepts that there is the events and there are experiences. So loss is an event. I am a loser is the way we are experiencing that event. That is the story that my mind is telling me. So we cannot avoid loss, we cannot avoid negativity in life. But when the negativity comes, when does it become overwhelming? I talked about it when the mind, which is the intermediate between us and this, with the physical and the mental side, the mind gets wounded. The mind gets injured. So when the mind is injured, when the mind is wounded, the mind is diseased, mind is sick, when there is rajas, when it is infected by rajoguna, then small stimulus, a huge reaction. When it is tamas, a huge stimulus, practically no reaction. So in this way, we end up either exhausting our energy too much on some things or not having energy for other things at all. And this way, we end up burned out. So burning too much in some times and burning too little in other times. So takeaway for us was that, how do we deal with it? 3 parts I talked about that. First is awareness. That awareness is, we become aware, what are the things that give me energy, what are the things that require energy. So what do I look forward to? What do I feel as if it's not there in my life itself? And second is adjustment. Adjustment means that I try to make sure that in my life, all the things that require energy don't all come together in a sequence. But rather, I take some energy, I get some, use some energy. I take some energy, so we need to adjust. And then after adjusting our schedule. But then the last part was access. We access emotional energy and we access spiritual energy. We access emotional energy by doing things which we like, which are relaxing, which are calming, which are spiritual energy. We access it through spiritual practices like meditation. So by this, what will happen? For each one of us, wherever we are, We learn to pursue our goals without being consumed by them, without being overwhelmed by them. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
We would like to give our sincere thanks to Devotee and Prabhupada. With a big round of applause. Please join me. And we would like to thank Prabhuji by giving a small gift from IIT Indore by the hand of Srila sir. I request sir to give the gift. Those who are having some questions, they can ask. Like Guruji is available to answer during the session, whatever doubt. We can ask questions. Those who have any doubt, they can, or question, they can raise their hand. We have some announcements, so please wait for that. So, in a very scientific manner, we learned how to deal with burnout and the concept of chit and the concept of emotional energy and spiritual energy. And Guruji also told us about there is covering of body, then there is mind, then there is soul, and how we can get best out of ourselves. So for that, in continuation, we are launching 3 session series during the mid-sem for the students. It is Science of Self-Realization. It is a 3-session course which we can join, and you must have received one form, feedback form. So in the lower section of that form, there is a registration form also. So those who are willing to join, they can fill their details in that. And we also have a book stall of Prabhuji. Like as I mentioned, there are over 25 books Prabhuji has written on spiritual subject matter and explaining such concept in a very scientific manner, very relevant to us. So the book stall is over there. And those who will purchase those books, they can get a signed copy also from Prabhuji.
So much of what I spoke today, can you show them? You are not your mind. You are not your mind. You are better. It's a national bestseller, and many of the points that I spoke today about mental wounds, they're all explained. And all of them are just 2-page articles. Each of them has a illustrative conceptographic diagrams. You can read one article in about 3 minutes or 5 minutes. There are 64 questions about the mind that are answered. What exactly is the mind? Is the mind different from the brain? Why does the mind tend to